Dart skill presents angles and parallel lines. Two straight lines are said to be parallel when they never meet, or in other words, the distance between the two straight lines is fixed and it never changes. And to say that the two lines are parallel, we use the arrowhead symbol. A straight line that cuts two or more parallel lines is called a transversal. So this line out here is called a transversal. Transversal. And between any two parallel lines and a transversal cutting both of them, we have 8 angles. Let's name them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. There are a few types of angle pairs that are formed. Let's talk about them. And the first one we are going to talk about is called corresponding angles. If you look at angle 1 over here and angle 5, they're exactly the same measure. So we say angle 1 and 5 form a pair of corresponding angles. Similarly, angle 4 and angle 8 form another pair of corresponding angles. On the other side of the transversal, we have angle 2 and angle 6 forming a pair of corresponding angles. So we have 2 and 6 as the third pair. And then finally, you guessed it right, angle 3 and angle 7 form the fourth pair of corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are always equal. So the measure of angle 1 out here is the same measure as angle 5. In the same way, the measure of angle 4 is exactly the same measure of angle 8, and so on. The next type of angle pair is called the alternate interior angles. Alternate because they lie on the opposite sides of the transversal. Interior because they lie within the two straight lines. So essentially we are referring to angles 3, 4, 5 and 6. If you look at these 4 angles, you will come to realize that the measure of angle 3 is exactly the same measure as angle 5. So we have 3 and 5 as one pair of alternate interior angles, and the other pair is angle 4 and angle 6. So we have 4 and 6. Similarly, we have something called co-interior angles. And co-interior angles are interior angles that are on the same side of the transversal. So if we look at angle 4 and angle 5, they form one pair of co-interior angles. And angle 3 and angle 6 form the other pair. And then of course we have 4 pairs of vertical angles or vertically opposite angles. Vertical angles. That's 1 and 3. These 2 are vertical angles. 2 and 4 is another pair. 2 and 4. We have 5 and 7. And 6 and 8. And finally, we have 8 pairs of supplementary angles. Supplementary. Recall that supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. Because we have a straight line over here, angle 1 and angle 2 would add up to 180 degrees. Similarly, angle 2 and angle 3 also add up to 180 degrees. So we have 2 and 3 as the other pair. And similarly, 3 and 4 form another pair of supplementary angles. And finally, 1 and 4 is another pair. So we have 4 pairs of supplementary angles on this side and another 4 pairs on the other side. And they are 5 and 6, 6 and 7, 7 and 8, and also 5 and 8. The bottom line, corresponding angles are equal. Alternate interior angles are also equal. However, if you look at co-interior angles like 4 and 5, they are not equal. In fact, they are supplementary. If you look at angle 4, it's supplementary to angle 1, and angle 1 is nothing but corresponding or equal to angle 5. Therefore, 4 and 5 are supplementary angles, and the same goes with 3 and 6. So we could say co-interior angles are supplementary. Vertical angles, of course, are equal. And then we have all those pairs of supplementary angles that add up to 180 degrees. And the good thing to note is, if we combine all these information, we come to realize that there are only 2 different angles formed. The measure of angle 1 is the same measure as angle 3, is the same measure as angle 5, and that's the same measure as angle 7. Similarly, angle 2, angle 4, angle 6, and angle 8 all have the same measure. And by the way, just in case you're wondering, this symbol out here that I have been using is the symbol for denoting an angle. So that's nothing to be confused about. And if you pick any of the angles from the top half and one angle from the bottom half, they are supplementary, meaning they add up to 180 degrees. Let's now take a look at a couple of examples. Let's say we have a parallelogram. Recall that in a parallelogram, the opposite sides are parallel, which means this side is parallel to this side, and this side is parallel to this side. If we know the measure of any one angle in a parallelogram, we can easily find the remaining 3 angles. This is how. Let's say this angle out here measures 80 degrees. And because this and this side are parallel, and this side acts as the transversal between them, this angle out here is nothing but the co-interior angle to 80 degrees, and we know that co-interior angles are supplementary. Therefore, the measure of this angle has to be 180 degrees minus 80 degrees, which is 100 degrees. Similarly, if you now consider this and this side to be running parallel, which they are, and consider this one as the transversal between them, then this angle out here and this angle out here form co-interior angles, and therefore the measure of this angle is 180 minus 100, which is 80 degrees. And if we go on to do the same thing between this and this parallel lines now, cut by this transversal, this angle out here and this angle out here are supplementary co-interior angles, and therefore this one measures 100 degrees. So essentially we could say in a parallelogram the opposite angles are equal and the adjacent angles are supplementary. Let's do another one. Let's have a straight line, cut another straight line in such a way that if one angle is x degrees, the other one, let's say, is 4x degrees. Can you find the value of x? Well, because this is a straight line, we know that the angle on a straight line is always equal to 180 degrees. That leads us to conclude that the two angles 4x and x add up to 180 degrees. So we have 4x plus x, which is 5x, is equal to 180 degrees. Therefore, x is 180 divided by 5. I just divided both sides of the equation with 5 so that I could have a 1 here. 1x is the same as x. So we have x is equal to 36 degrees. So this one is a 36 degrees and the one on the other side is 144 degrees and the two add up to 180 degrees.